Oh, shoot. Hi.
Hello.
Thank you, audience, for joining us today. We are here with Andrea Cammarota. Get it together. Thanks for joining us, Andrea.
Thank you for having me. So exciting to have a live chat with.
Andrea is someone who I know who is super, super great at home organization and just like organizational systems in general. So we're gonna have Andrea sharing some of her decluttering tips and also some home projects that we can do now. We see at least somebody has joined us. Say hey, let us know that you're here
Hi.
on YouTube or Facebook. Just like the other sessions, we will be having a $25 gift card giveaway. So please comment and make sure you like our social media platforms. So let's just get into it.
Yeah.
Andrea, so I know a lot of people are at home. They're thinking about these home organization projects, and for a lot of people, it's super overwhelming
Mhm.
to even think about decluttering their entire house. And now that you're in your house a lot more, you can kind of notice all the issues that you have going on.
Right.
So, where do you suggest that people start when they have to attack decluttering their home?
I think if you have your entire house that either because you haven't gone through things for a long time, like you've been in it for a while, or maybe you just moved in and you were just so focused on unpacking that you just threw everything wherever, and get it in where it can fit in. I think it's good to start with a smaller project, like say the bathroom, for example. A bathroom's a good like lower scale project to start with, and then work your way up, because I think it's kind of like it's even like how we tackle a lot of things, like the whole idea of how you attack debt, like with your small debts first and then the big ones.
Right.
Same thing, like
Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey, but it's the same concept of if you feel a sense of accomplishment when you get one little project done, even if you just start with like the medicine cabinet. If you're really overwhelmed by your entire house and how much junk you feel you probably have to get rid of, it makes sense to just say, okay, well, let's just start with the medicine cabinet or whatever's under the sink in the bathroom, and go through that. And then once you feel like you've done that, and you can like, okay, well, like that was easy, maybe I can move to the linen closet, or whatever is next, to kind of build on your small successes. Because once you do it with one thing, the principles apply across the board. The projects just get bigger.
Right. So perfect. So starting off with like a bathroom, a small project, give you a little bit of confidence, and that's kind of with anything, like you said, you kind of start with a small thing, you feel a little sense of success, and it just motivates you to do more.
Yep.
So this is a big one for me, as you know. She knows me. What if someone has problems distinguishing between what is an item to save and an item to keep? Because people say that they need something, they're going to wear something, they're going to use something again, and they never do. So how do you what do you suggest, like a good system for doing that?
For me, if we're talking about clothing, since we mentioned wearing something or not wearing it, or you might wear it one day, really, honestly, there is no like one day, like you're not going to wear it one day, but you either wear it or you don't. And so sometimes it is hard to distinguish when was the last time you wore something. And so in my closet, what I do go through my closet at least once a year. And so that's a start. Like, give yourself like a time of year or some sort of marker. If you have, like if you're a teacher, you always have, you're probably going to have the summer off, or if you always get a holiday break, during the holidays, you have time off of work, then maybe that can be your marker, because that's the time that you're actually at home. So thinking of when we go back to normal. But
and here we actually have more seasons than in LA, so like there's a clear kind of demarcation, marcation between the clothes that you're going to need between the
Definitely.
seasons.
And I mean, seasons are always a real easy built-in way, you know, the whole idea of spring cleaning. It's a time to, you know, a great time to switch out your fall and winter wardrobe into your spring, summer collection of things to wear. So anyhow, so I would say for me, what I do in my closet is I turn everything, all the hangers around so that they're hung. There's my dog. That's fun. Good times. Sorry about that. We're live. So, you know, you usually hang things on the hanger this way so that the round part of the hook is facing you. But what I do once I clean my closet out is I hang everything backwards so that the point is pointing back at me. And what that does is once I try on an item, I actually will, you know, take when I put it back in the closet, I put it back the right way, with the round part facing me. And then that way, when I do this again next year, if there's anything that's still turned with the point pointing back at me, that means I have not worn that for the entire year. And that is officially in a bag being donated. So that's a really easy way that you don't have to keep up with. It's just a matter of, you know, you wear it, you put it back the right way, and anything that you don't wear stays the wrong way in the closet, and indicating that it's not an item that you wore, picked up, did anything with for whatever amount of time. So whether you do it every 6 months or whether you do it once a year, even 6 months is probably a good indication, especially if you have seasonally switched out. That means that whole season of summer and spring, for example, you never wore that, you know, spaghetti strap dress or whatever it is, you know, so it's probably time to give that dress away and make room for new things. That's the other way to also monitor things is give yourself limits of what you take in versus what you get away. So if I buy 2 new sweaters, I'm really looking to see like what 2 sweaters can I give away, you know, and donate, because oftentimes, you know, there's just, you don't have that much room, you know, like my sweater drawer is full. So if I just don't make the 2 in, 2 out rule, put that in place, then I don't have space. Like and then you just end up with this problem of you have more things than actual room to put them in, which is what lots of people like. That's a lot of people, anybody, like that's where your clutter comes from, is more things than locations.
That is great advice. And I knew you did this, the turning of the hangers. It's so simple.
I got that from Clinton Kelly.
Oh, okay. Like that's such a easy thing that we can all manage.
Yeah, I mean, it's so smart. And so ever since I heard that, so like I really just pick up a lot of like advice along the way when I watch, you know, other shows and organization things. I read books about organization, and you know, not everything is applicable to you. Not everything works for everybody, but there's lots of little like kind of life hack type stuff that can be really helpful.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So in terms, you kind of mentioned it a little bit. So your last kind of project, what was your last project, and kind of how did you attack that? Like what did, you know?
So you're looking at my last project behind me here. My last project was this closet behind me, and it did not look like this. At the beginning of this year, in January, I decided I would tackle this closet. It was full of things. It was just became the catch-all closet. It started off organized. I had put a few IKEA organizers in there, drawers and different things, and I had put a filing cabinet in there. But other than that, I wasn't using the vertical space at all. So you see all the vertical spaces is a really tall closet. From about here up, there was nothing except for one shelf at the very top. So there was not a good use of the space that was in there. It's a really big closet that fits a lot of things, and I should have had it better organized. So I went ahead and I put the I had put a bunch of boxes in there that were from when I moved in, and I literally never looked at them. It was definitely that move-in fatigue. Once you finally get all the essentials, there was just a bunch of boxes that I knew were memorabilia, and I just didn't feel like going through them. So I moved in, I put them on that top shelf, and I never looked at them again. And that was 10 years ago. This January, I was like, you know what, I have to tackle this. So I took everything out of the closet, and it took a long time. I have to say it probably was like a 6-week, meaning like 6 weekends worth of going through every item in that closet, touching everything, making a decision about each item, and sorting them into piles, either keep, trash, or donate. And I am almost embarrassed to say that at the end of it, I had, the big black garbage bags, the 36-gallon garbage bags. I had, I think, almost equal amounts, 7 donation bags and 7 trash bags, that size, out of this closet. So it was astounding. It was a bear of a project. And I'm really glad I did it. I also had shelves installed. Again, in order to use the vertical space, I wanted to have shelves all the way across this closet. For me, this is a storage closet, not a closed closet. It's office supplies, it's gift wrap, it's, memorabilia type stuff. I did keep a lot of things, but as I just said, I also had 14 total trash bag full of things that were either donation or trash. So it was a pretty hairy hairy project, but I'm really, really glad I did it. Like, I'm so satisfied with the results.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks great. I've seen some other pictures. We have a couple of questions that came in, so we want to address those. One, I flashed it temporarily, and I'm new to this. How can you encourage your adult housemates to follow systems like hangers?
Yeah, that's hard. I don't have any adult housemates. And so I would imagine it's hard to get other people motivated to do the same thing that you're trying to do. So I think it's just like anything else. Like, what is the incentive to do it? Are they invested in the project at all, in terms of, what will be the end goal for the household, the family as a whole in the end? But I'm not, that is not my area of expertise.
Okay, we have another question in. Someone said they noticed your background with, you pointed to the organizational containers that you have. Where would be a good place to begin buying inexpensive organizational storage?
Definitely Target, in terms of, if you're looking on kind of like, good sturdy stuff that's not too expensive. Target, Walmart, all those places have great tubs. What's most important about containers is, first you have to do the work of sorting and purging all your stuff, and then you have to see what's left, right? So like, once I have a complete look at what I'm keeping, that will dictate what kind of containers I need and want to get. So you should never get the containers first, because then you're working backward. You want your form to follow function. So whatever form of container you get needs to follow the functionality of what you're doing or what's left in your room or your closet or whatever it is. So yeah.
I'm just laughing at that because I've done the opposite, of course, and I've bought containers, and so the containers end up becoming more clutter.
Right. Right. That is part of the problem. You end up with a bunch of things, things on top of things on top of stuff. Yeah. So that's what you don't want to do. So and that's, for me, these I got at the Container Store. So the Container Store tends to be a little higher end, a little bit more expensive, but definitely, I don't think it matters. It's just a matter of your styling, your budget, how much on display are these items going to be will also dictate like how pretty do you want them to be, or how how aesthetically pleasing do you need them to be so that they match the rest of your decor or whatever, you know? So obviously a giant plastic tub is great for the garage, but not for your living room. So you need to like, you know, figure that out. But there's a ton of stuff really at all price ranges that can fit the function that you need once you know what it is that you need. So you have to do the hard work first, and that's the sorting and the purging.
So are there any other, you mentioned the Container Store, Target, so those are kind of like your main places for getting these items?
Yeah, for sure. I'm obsessed with the Container Store. It's like my mecca. So I can't say enough about them, and all their stuff is available online. And honestly, it's just a little higher end than like what you're going to get at Target. It's not that much more expensive. But again, if budget is an issue, you're going to be able to find very similar items at Target or Walmart. And, you know, it's just a matter of your preference.
Okay. So are there any other tips that you would like to just kind of share while we wait for some more questions to come in?
Let me see. I would say one of the things that people have trouble doing is how to, you know, when you sort, it is overwhelming. And I have to say this closet project, every time I approached it, it felt super overwhelming. Every time I kind of like, it felt like, okay, I'm going in, like I'm coming back into this room and I'm going to do like I'm doing one more time, another session. It was like round one, round two. And I really could only do it for a little while at a time. Like it was taxing. It was like, so I ended up doing like 90 minutes was my maximum. Like I'm going to spend 90 minutes in this room. And whatever I go through, I'm going to go through. And that's, you know, at that 90-minute mark, I was pretty much done. Oftentimes the sorting is emotional, you know, like if you're going through, you know, like a closet like this, for example, that has like a lot of things that have sentimental value, cards and letters and pictures, you know, you're going through all these things and it's taxing. Like you want to take your time as you're making decisions about what you're keeping and what you're giving away or what's actually trash. And that's, you know, it's hard. Like you're kind of doing some emotional work on your way. It's very therapeutic, but it's an energy zapper. So I feel like give yourself realistic time frames about how much time this is going to take, or you know. How much time can you dedicate to it, and then just do that. And I always say it's gonna get worse before it gets better. Like the messy closet was not worse than the messy room that I had. The messy room was a disaster. Like once I got everything out of the closet and everything was just everywhere, it was horrible. Like it looked like a thrift store in here. And it was like, okay, but like that's just what it's going to be until I make my way through it. So that also was motivation to keep working through it, because I wanted to get rid of the thrift store in my den, and two, I wanted to get back to where the closet, everything was back in the closet like it was supposed to be, or all the things that I was keeping were back in the closet. So so give yourself time and be generous with yourself about and realistic with yourself about how much this is going to require of you.
Sorry, I forgot to add myself. I'm like talking away. So
okay.
Did,
dead air.
Yeah. So I was just talking away, and then I signed myself back in. Okay. So someone did say that they love that idea of like creating like a time limit. And I think that's like very important, especially with things that are hard to do or things you don't want to do. You know, I do that all the time. Yeah. Things I was like, okay, I'm going to give this an hour, you know, and, you know, get that done. So we do have some more questions.
Okay.
Okay. About 3 more questions. Hold on. So someone asked, does the Container Store measure your space, or do you measure? I'm nervous about having inaccurate measurements.
So they do both. I measured my space myself. For this project behind me, I measured it myself, and it was fine. They do in-home consultations for free as well, so it's all part of the services that they provide. So I've used them for this closet, and I think I've always done the measurements myself. My hall closet, this closet, and my bedroom closet where my actual wardrobe is. All of those are out of the Container Store, and all of those I brought the measurements in myself. And they actually have a service in store. Obviously, once stores reopen, you can do it online though. I think you can plug in your measurements online, and but they have a service where they on the computer they actually create the space for you in front of you, and you talk through like your needs and what is this space for, how are you going to use it, what are you going to put here. And the consultant gives you direction and all of that as you go. So it's, like I said, I can't say enough about them because it's really, it's an investment. It was, but it wasn't skyrocket expensive. And it's also really sturdy shelving material, baskets, drawers. And they have everything from just like their basics, which is kind of what you see behind me, to like some much fancier, like luxurious finishes that are costlier as well. Yeah, I would go online and look at what they have to offer. There's a lot there.
Awesome. So another question came in. How do you know when you need to bring in a professional organizers, and what kind of projects can they assist you with?
That's a good question. First of all, professional organizers can help you with basically any project, like whether it's from getting your filing system together, if you have a home office of some sort, to your kitchen or whatever it is. Like most professional organizers will have the skills and the ability to assist you in any project that you have. And then I would say, I think if you need one, it's probably safe to say that you've tried yourself several times and are not able to, get it done. Like if there's some, and there is definitely a psychological piece to this of, really the ability to let go, the ability to release some things, the ability to even just the self-discipline. I mean, sometimes a professional organizer can almost serve as the same function as a coach, right? Like a fitness trainer. You get your trainer, you hire them on because they push you and direct you and you're paying them to make you do something. And, so a professional organizer can definitely function in that same way. Like you're hiring them and giving them money to make you do the thing that you've yet to be able to accomplish on your own. So I think that's probably the number one indicator that you need one, is that, you've tried and failed and tried again. And there's something about the project or something about the process that is keeping you from succeeding on your own. And it might be helpful to have somebody who's going to guide you and push you along in that process.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And if you have noticed, I just put up our contest rules. Again, we are doing a $25 gift card raffle thanks to our amazing lender partner, Arnold Martin with Silverton Mortgage, who's supplied all the gift cards for our sessions this week. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So again, all you have to do is like our YouTube channel or our Les Maisons Partners Facebook page and make a comment, ask a question. That's about it. So we have a couple more questions that came in. This one. How can you separate from sentimental items? Like, what's your process?
Yeah, that's some of that emotional work that I was talking about. I think that sentimental items are definitely the hardest. So I'll just I'll talk about my process. I definitely, in this last project, hit so many things that were really hard to look at, really hard to decide on. I would say my number one rule, sentimental or otherwise, is once it's in your hand, you have to make a decision about it. There's no like, oh, I'm going to put this down and think about it later, because that will delay you. I mean, there's a million things that you can make a decision about later. The whole point is you're doing this now. So once it's in your hands, you need to figure it out. And so you can't keep every sentimental thing. Like, I've had lovely letters written to me, beautiful thank you cards, and while those are valuable, they're not the same as the embroidered handkerchief that I found that my grandmother had made for me with my initials on it, right? So that I'm keeping the handkerchief, like that's, irreplaceable bit of like family history and a gift that was given to me by a relative. But I didn't keep like every thank you card. I definitely did not keep most thank you cards. If it felt like I wanted to hang on to the sentiment a little longer, I took a picture of it. And that's digital, using your technology and digital technology in terms of photography or scanning something is a great way of keeping it without keeping it. So that you're not, so you're still somehow, holding on to that thought, to the sentiments that were delivered to you, but not necessarily the thing itself. And I'd say the same thing for photographs. There's a lot of photographs that I'm going to keep and I'm going to put that I have already put into a photo box where I'm filing them in order kind of by dates, or you can file them however, like by people or by, events or whatever it is. But there's lots of photos that I'm keeping. There's lots of photos that I just took a photo of and it's now digitally in my photos file on my computer. And, I can look back at it. If at some point I decide that it's so important that I want to print it or frame it, then that's great. But I think for me, the sentimental items, it's really about making a clear distinction about why am I keeping this? Why is it important? How am I going to honor it? And that doesn't mean that you have to display every single thing that you keep. But how are you going to honor it? Because if it's just going to go back in a cardboard box in the garage, like that doesn't really hit the like honor button for me, at least. These tabs that you see above me, those are all, each one is separated by era. So there's a kind of like a childhood to middle school box and a high school box and a college box. And that's how I'm honoring those items. I sorted through them. I decided which things I'm keeping. And I did put them back in a very nice box that's on display in this closet. And when I feel like going through them, I can take it back down and go back through, walk down memory lane, and then, nicely put it back and put it back in its nice box. So that's one way of honoring things. So I think you just need to decide, item by item in the moment, and then do that thing with it. Like either you're putting it in that keep pile because you're going to keep it in an honoring way, or you take a picture of it and throw it away.
Perfect. So we have another question.
Okay.
That kind of just directly ties into what we're talking about, just kind of expound a little bit. So you have those items, those sentimental items that you want to display and not store away. What can you use to display those? What are some of your options to display in a more creative way some of those sentimental items?
It just depends what it is. If it's clothing, I think clothing is a big one. Like if you have like a bunch of your dad and mom's shirts, or someone, I think it's one of the great things that I see being done with those is getting a quilter to make a quilt, out of the patches. Make the quilt patches out of the clothing that you're keeping. Even if it's like kids' clothes, like I know, so I'm not a parent, but there's some, there's some degree of sentimentality around like your child's like baby clothes or like their, whatever. That's a great thing to do with that. Like if you're not going to hand it down to someone else who can use it because, they now have a baby that's that age and that size. And you have just that sentimental connection with their first, outfit for whatever, all these things. There's lots of great ways to keep clothing that also then make them functional in a new way, like you kind of repurpose them. And then for items, you can, it just depends what it is. Like there's framing, I think there's framing letters, even if you make a book, like a scrapbook out of something, or put things in a scrapbook. Shadow boxes are a great way. I mean, if you have something that's more like, not a piece of paper, not flat, not clothes, but like an item, putting them in putting together a shadow box. And if you're not crafty, like there's a million people out there that you can like pay. Like I am not a crafty person at all. Like that is not I am creative in other ways. That is not the way that I'm creative. But I'm happy to hand over my stuff and some cash to somebody to be like, here, you
make it look nice.
Make it look nice and give it back to me, and I'll put it somewhere and find, I'll find a shelf, and that's where that thing will be displayed. So I think it's just, what is the item and how do you want to put it out there? Like what would be a good way of displaying it? There's lots of good ideas again on these interwebs. There's good ways to take things that are meaningful to you and honor them in your household.
Awesome. It just reminds me of Nasia. Nasia is not joining us today. I know, but she has this little sweater that has like her name on it from when she was like a little girl, and she framed it. It's adorable. And it's like a cute thing because like that's something you're not gonna pass along unless you name your daughter Nasia. Like, something that you're not gonna, like kind of pass along or whatever, but it's so sweet. And so yeah, so like that's like a great idea. So we had another question that came in. Hold on, let me grab it. My apartment is very small. What are some of the best ways to organize a small space?
Oh, well, this I am an expert at. So I don't know how small you're talking, but my condo is only 900 square feet. And it's, 2 bedrooms, 1.5 baths. So there's not a lot of space. I'm definitely the king of using your vertical space. And I think that's the first rule in small spaces is look at the up and down of your space, whatever space you're working in, and how can you use that vertical space better? How are you utilizing it? Like I said about this closet, I was not utilizing the vertical space at all. Like it was just a lot of empty space that is now a bunch of beautiful shelves that I can put things on. So, so that would be rule number one. And then once you start looking at that, you can start getting creative about where to put things. Like I'll use an example to answer the question. I remodeled my kitchen, and in order to make the footprint of the kitchen better, I actually got rid of what was the pantry or the closet that would have worked as utilized as a pantry. So it meant I didn't have a real pantry space. So at first I was using a cupboard for pantry stuff, but it quickly became apparent that the cupboard was just overflowing. Like there was too many things in there. So I've done a few things to help that. I took all the spices out, and I got a magnetic board, like a stainless steel board that I tacked onto the wall, and magnetic spice jars. So the lid of the spice jars have a magnet inside them. And so the spice jar my whole spice rack is now a vertical spice rack that is magnetized to the wall. So the spices don't take up any horizontal space whatsoever. And it fits all the spices, and that cleared an entire shelf in my pantry or my cupboard that I was using as a pantry. Even after I did that, it was still not, I still needed more space for just, regular pantry items, cans of things, jars of things. So I decided that there's I put in a door that where there wasn't a door before. There wasn't an actual full door. That's a whole other story. But anyway, there's a door in my that leads to my laundry closet, and it's also right next to the kitchen. So on the inside of the door, I installed a vertical pantry, which is basically it's a rack that takes where you can have baskets that hook into it. It's another system from the Container Store. It's called their over the door pantry system. They also have an over the door system for a bunch of other things like makeup, or over the door for jewelry organization or whatever. But I use these baskets on the door. So the length of the door is now a pantry with like 8 different baskets that hold jars and olive oil and sprays and tea and, all pantry stuff. So that now is perfect. I have the spices on the wall. I've got the vertical space of the door being used, and then the rest that was left in the cupboard has plenty of room, and it's not impossible to find things anymore. So I think it's about getting creative about using your vertical space. In small spaces, you just want to figure out all the ways that you can, double purpose a space so that it's more than just a wall, or more than just a door, or a lazy Susan in a cupboard that allows you a little bit more space to like turn things around and reach what's in the back from the front. So there's a lot of different ways to think about that, but small spaces are not impossible. You just have to get creative.
Awesome. That is great. So yeah, we can really relate to the small spaces conversation.
Yeah.
You referenced someone who gave you that you got the kind of the hanger hack from. Are there any other kind of organizational professionals that you follow either on like Instagram or on a show or anything like that we might want to know more about?
I've so many people that I've read. I mean, I think most recently everyone was very into the whole like Marie Kondo show on Netflix last year, or I think around this time last year, everybody was, gaga over Marie Kondo.
These were the hashtags and spark joy. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I think for me, it's really about taking the ideas that work for you. From the people that are out there. So like for her, like her whole folding system is one that I'm still using for my drawers. I liked it better than what I was doing.
What's that?
So she has a whole way that you fold. Sorry, I'm putting my coffee down. You take a t-shirt and you fold it like in half, like in thirds, and then in thirds again, and then in half. So you basically end up with like a little square. And then so then you do that for everything in that drawer, and you can actually just see like you have a bunch of little squares, so you can kind of see like, oh, this
kind of like socks in a drawer, like they're kind of like
making things small and or as small as you can get them, and then doing the same thing with all of them so that they're all in there the same way. So whether it's pants or shorts or t-shirts or whatever, and that was really great. So I feel like because sometimes there are things that are just a little like every professional organizer that I've read anything about, read their material or followed in any way, they always have something that's a little like weird or a little like there's some like, I don't know, for me at least, like some sort of like approach that does not necessarily vibe with like the way I approach things, but there's oftentimes tips and tricks that are good. And I feel like, it's like anything, take what you can use and like the rest just put aside. Like you don't have to adopt their entire worldview in order to use their drawer organizing system or whatever.
Right.
So I think that's important, just to kind of, but there's a ton of stuff out there. I'm like having a mental block of some of the books that I've read. Like early on, like this is so old, but like More Hours in My Day. I can't think of the author right now, but the title of the book was More Hours in My Day. And it's super old school. I mean, I think the author now is probably like in her you know, 70s or 80s, you know, considering like when it was published and how old she was at the time.
Emily Barnes or
Yeah.
Emily Barnes. Yeah. Okay.
So it's Emily Barnes, but I thought that a family member of hers had like redone it because Emily Barnes, I think, is deceased. So anyway, it's an old book.
Okay.
But in any case, but with really good tips. And again, it's very, it's all about like, you know, how can you get, it's about kind of, it's more about like time management, but it also has like good tips and tricks in terms of like just how to, you know, how do you organize your day and build more time into it with some like life hack type stuff. So.
Okay, awesome. I don't see any more questions. Last call for questions. Any and everybody. I've seen someone's like, I totally need this. I'm like, yes, we felt that a lot of people do need this because we, like I said, the whole decluttering thing is something that we get a lot of when it's time for us to list a home because people are living in their homes. We're like, nobody wants to see your lived-in house, or they're getting ready, you know, to like leave and pack and move, and it's just, you know, 20 years, 30 years of stuff.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, and that's hard. Like, you know, I mean, again, even though I've only been in my place for 10, actually, it's 11 years. It'll be 11 years this month.
Wow.
I know, isn't that crazy? So it's only been 11 years, but that's still like a whole, you know, over a decade of time of just, you know, living life. I've changed careers. You know, like so much has happened in terms of, you know, my needs for like my wardrobe and different things over the last 10 years, you know? So it's hard. You know, I think if you're moving, going back to that point, if you have the luxury of knowing that you're moving or you're gonna, you know, like you're in, even if you're like just in the market for a house and you're in that like house shopping point, that's a great time to start doing some of this stuff so that you don't even have to pack some stuff, right? Like if
you're like, oh, this ain't going to the new house. We're not bringing the new.
I mean, it's a great time to really start with a clean slate. So if you can only put in the boxes that you're packing, the stuff that you are then gonna like, you know, put in the new house and organize once you get to the new house, that's an awesome time to do it. You know, and I think that it's such a natural time. Like you're going through, everything needs to come out anyway, so you may as well make decisions about it up front so that you don't have to do it later. Like when you move into your new house, you can just put all the things that you've already decided are important enough to move into the space in the way that you want to put it in there. So.
Absolutely. So we didn't have any more questions coming in. So we can, you know, get ready to wrap it up. Any final last words?
You can do it. Start small, start with something easy. You know, like I said, a medicine cabinet is honestly a great place to start.
OMG, yes.
It is. Like, it's just one of those weird little spaces that just gather things. You just throw things in there and it's like, there's a bunch of stuff in there. I'm sure right now, if you walk over to your medicine cabinet and take everything out, you will have a bunch of things that are just trash, expired, you've never used, you bought, and you know, now it's expired and you never use it. Throw those things away. Take the opportunity to clean out, you know, dust and spray in the medicine cabinet, and then put everything back in a way that makes sense, and you'll be so pleased with yourself. Like it'll be so nice to open that medicine cabinet tomorrow morning and just see everything like that you need and nothing that you don't need.
Yes, it's like a small victory. Like you know, things are so like uncertain right now. And if your space, like your home, is kind of neat and organized, there's a certain level of peace that you get. I feel like with that. So
absolutely, and it's just, you know, there's a lot that we don't have control over just in general in life, but you do have control over your space for the most part. So, you know, you can decide and make decisions and have power over that little realm of the world that belongs only to you. And that's a great way to, you know, at least feel like there's, you know, that you can gain a certain amount of security and peace from that, especially during these kind of wild times that we are living in.
Awesome, awesome. So we have some comments, people saying thank you so much for the great tips and outstanding. And we'll also just go ahead and announce our winner for today, who is Tanisha Landry. So
Why am I not surprised?
congratulations, Tanisha. We will be in
Congratulations.
touch to tell you all about how you will be receiving your $25 gift card. So thank you, thank you, thank you for your participation today. Your fantastic questions. Um, so yeah, so thank you so much, and we will be back here tomorrow with a baking primer. The pound cake recipe that you need now.
Oh,
I don't know about you, but I am doing a lot of baking right now. I think a lot of us are stress baking.
uh-huh.
So we're going to give you one more recipe that you can put in your toolbox and bring out and just enjoy during this time. So
Sounds delicious.
yeah, so thanks so much, and we'll be hopefully seeing you tomorrow at 7, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.